Welcome to another episode of Lifestyle After 5, episode 2 of the Crypt Keeper stories. The journey, the final journey, shall I say. The
The last
bizarre
journey.
funeral request, the last journey with the Crypt Keeper, aka Danielle, the funeral director.
Good afternoon.
Imagine being tasked with fulfilling the last wishes of someone's life, no matter how strange or unconventional. Today, Danielle shares some of her most bizarre funeral requests she has received. These stories are both touching and shocking, giving us a peek into the unique ways people choose to be remembered. Hey everyone, let's welcome Danielle, aka.
Hello. You know what? I really wish that would play when I walk into the cemetery or the funeral home or
Well,
down the aisle.
I guess you're something like the underworld superhero. We have to give you the cape, the Crypt Keeper cape.
I think the keys to the Cadillac hearse is enough for me.
You got the keys to the casket.
Keys to we do have a key that we keep under a podium to lock the
Keys to
casket. We
to the
do.
vault. So I guess it would be appropriate. So, hey, let's salute our funeral directors when they walk in. All rise. The one that's going to escort and put your loved one in the ground.
The last person that will see your family member naked.
Well, never thought about that. For some, that may be a terrible sight.
So what did we end with last episode? Oh, the shooting.
Yeah. Let's get into
All
it.
right, let's start. So I did a service for an individual, a young guy that was involved in a murder and exchange of gunfire. He shot somebody and then somebody shot him. So 2 people died during that encounter. Well,
Did he die at the funeral or he died before the funeral?
He died before the funeral. So it was 2 people. No, it was like 5 on 2 or whatever. And there's a shootout. One gang member shot him, or what? He shot one gang member, and the other gang member shot him. So 2 people were shot, and it was his funeral, right? And I hate public funerals where I'm involved because cameras, anything can happen, especially when it's a murder, right? And so we were warned that an individual might show up at the funeral that was part of the shootout that happened in Florida. And I was like, oh, hell. Huh?
Did y'all have security?
We did, but we didn't have security going to the cemetery. We only had security at the funeral.
No
So
police.
the cemetery was private. It was supposed to be for immediate family, right?
Mhm.
And I told them, don't even put in the private cemetery, like in the newspaper or anything like that, or online, because we don't want just anybody showing up. Lo and behold, we get to the cemetery. He's getting ready to go on the ground, and all you hear is skidding out, going into the cemetery. Like the skidding sound. And I'm standing there. I'm like, what the heck? And all of a sudden, you hear pop, 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 pop. And I'm like, and I'm close to the hearse because I always stay close to the hearse because I don't, you know what I mean? Like once the body goes down on the ground, it's the cemetery. But I'm far back. I'm removed. By the time we get to the cemetery, I'm already tired. So I'm standing back and I'm just like, there literally is a drive-by. But by now, I'm like on the other side of the hearse, like down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and I'm in my head, I'm like, did they really just shoot? They were just really shooting. And I was like, this is crazy. Nobody got shot. Nobody died. Nobody got hurt.
Well, thank goodness for that. But did you run out and give all the family members your business cards?
No, I got in the car and in the hearse and I left. And I got in trouble for that.
What they want you to do? Stay there?
Because the body is still mine until it hits the ground, and the body was still on top of the ground on the lever, the device that lowers the casket. But I was like, at the end of the day, I have a family I need to go home to, right? Like, I'm not about to sit around. I came back. I didn't leave.
You spent the block in the hearse and came.
I came back. But other than, I was like, let me make sure the scene's clear. I'm not trying to die for somebody that's already dead.
Yeah, they trying to get you to join them.
You're so crazy. Exactly. Granted, my funeral home is paid for, and my funeral is paid for. I'm not trying to use it now. And so,
Exactly.
um, that happened, and it was on the news and everything. And they're like, "Is that your funeral home?" I'm like, "Yes, it's my funeral home." Were you there? Yes, I was there. Are you hurt? No, I'm not hurt. Uh, Now, if I was probably standing closer to the family, obviously the trigger man didn't hit anybody. So I don't know if you're shooting in the air, but what goes up must come down. So I was the victim. Oh, a funny story. As I was Another time, as I was at another cemetery, we're getting ready to lower the casket, and a car is coming towards us, right? And I'm like, this is weird. The lady behind the wheel had a heart attack and died. It was inches from hitting us.
And wow, when did y'all figure out that she was deceased?
When the car came, it hit the curb and came to a stop, and she was slumped over on the steering wheel, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, hold on a second, and she was like slumped over, and she died. They all went to her car, opened the door, and she was dead.
Did you run up with your car like my body?
I
My
got
body.
it.
It was
Tag on
mine.
it.
The
No.
good Lord sent her to me. This is money. This is
No,
mine.
but we
Right
did
here.
get her funeral. We did get her funeral. And I
How did
did do her
how was the
funeral.
conversation? Did you call the family and it was like, hey,
So
I'm
I
sorry for
don't
your loss. I can see. I'm gonna be you. I can see it now. Hey, I'm sorry for your loss, but I think it was a sign. She had a heart attack and she just happened to land at my funeral. I mean, I think that's a sign that she really wanted me to handle the body and get this business right here. You know, I can take care of your loved one, and like I said, we want to respect her wishes, and obviously her wish is for me to get this body.
because she was close to me.
She was close, so let's do this. So how did that end up happening?
So real life, like I want to go along with you, but of course you have to call 911. They
Hmm.
pronounced her dead. Um, they called the family, right? After they took her body in custody, or after the medical examiners came and got her, and then the family chose my funeral, the funeral home I worked for during that time, and
How did they know
that's
about you?
we're big. We're a big funeral home
Mhm,
in the city that I'm from, and we get probably 80, maybe 60% of the funerals, or
mhm,
of the funerals that happen in the city of Florida that I'm from.
mhm,
Um, and I didn't even know, I didn't even remember her name. I just finished the funeral. I was like, oh my God, we could have been dead. Like all of us, the whole family. If
mhm.
she could have hit all of us and killed us all. But after we got her body in custody, I looked, I was like, I think that's her. And then I called the family and was like, hey, by the way, I was the funeral director that was right there when your mother had her heart attack and died. Yeah. It was sad. It
I
was
can imagine.
sudden, right? Like it's sudden. They didn't
Did
expect
that
her to
bring them
die.
comfort?
Huh?
Did that bring them comfort?
It so what brought them comfort was she was leaving from seeing her husband that died like 10 years prior. And it was like his anniversary of his death or something like that. And so she was there to put flowers on his casket. I mean on his grave marker. And she died right after. And I was like, oh.
He snatched her soul.
So he said, you know what? I'm tired of living without you. You coming home with me?
You coming with me?
You're coming with me.
Join
Yeah.
me.
You're over here out here in on earth partying it up, and whoever you're dating, yeah.
It's over. Come with me.
God or whoever you believe in, send her home. Go send her home.
To
Yeah.
bring me to join you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever
So
had anybody try to jump in the casket?
oh my God. One time he wanted to say his goodbyes, and he's Catholic, and he stood up on the leaner, the kneeler, and I was like, what is this man about to do? And he's like, I can't live without her. And I was like, yo, if you flip this casket over, it's gonna be you and her in this casket, and you're gonna be putting her back in the casket on the church truck. So I kind of lured him back down and was like, no, 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 that's not what we're about to do. Because
See,
people are grieving, right? They're emotional. So many emotions are going right now, right? That anything is liable to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can be emotional at times. I mean, I love my grandparents, and when they died, I mean, it was sad, and I missed them. But one emotion that never came across my body was to jump in that casket with them, or as they going down to
And I
go
ain't
down
ready.
there with them. I'm just not ready. I miss you. Oh God, I'm gonna miss you dearly, but I ain't ready to jump in that casket with you. I ain't gonna even say no stupid shit like that.
Yeah. Some people, especially people that lose their children.
Like I said,
You know,
take
I did a funeral
um,
here at a Ellie, out of 17 years, I probably cried at two funerals. And I cried during COVID. I can't remember, I can't recall the name or the year. Here in DC, a mother, African American, lost her son. Her son went to Philly to meet up with a girl. They set him up, they robbed him and killed him. That scream and that cry from a mother's love and seeing her 19, 20-year-old son in that casket, never in 17 years have I cried. And this was the
I'm
one
sad.
time. The one time I cried. I cried. And I had to remove myself. I said, you know what? I can't. I got to walk away.
I'm usually good at the funeral until they start with the songs.
Yeah, the songs is what gets you.
Just like
The
God,
songs which get
will
you.
you share?
Mama by Boys to Men. Like,
Yeah,
songs are what get you. Or what's
I
that one
mean,
song? Hold the Crown. Or Lay
yeah.
the Crown.
They got so many creative songs now that they go into. I can't even think of some of these saddest songs.
Oh,
But
I
I
Shall
mean,
Wear a Crown is
yeah.
one that will get you.
But they keep them. It's like these are the long. I mean, I swear these songs be about 10 minutes long.
Hmm.
They are determined to get some tears out of you.
Yeah, they are. And then you always have that one family member that yells, and I call it, I don't want to sound heartless, but dramatic. You always have that
Oh
one
yeah.
dramatic family member. And I'm, of course, they're grieving, but it's that yell or that cry or that sniffle that they do that sets you
Mm,
all the way off. At my aunt's funeral, we were all fine until my other aunt decided to say, "No, not my sis." And I was like, here goes the tears.
mhm.
I'm like, why? We were doing
Or,
fine.
or when you walk around and they break down in front of the casket.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that's kind of like a little moment where you be doing good, and it's like, okay, it's time to walk by the casket.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
me, I'm just gonna glance and keep it moving and roll. But then you got those that's
Yeah.
gonna bring it out of you. I think
Yeah.
the last funeral I went to was my godmother's funeral,
Hmm.
and like I said, that was sad. Yeah, I was doing good, and like I said, and then they come with the song. It's like God dang.
Yeah. It's a
And
song.
my cousins, the god cousins, and all the god sisters, and all that. They're breaking down, and it's like, let me breathe.
Yeah. Yeah. Or when you walking in with your family, that's what the Johnsons do. Like that's what we do. It's we walk in after everybody's seated, then the family walks in, and then you see the casket straight ahead. And I'm usually in the back, so I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. Like this is too like, can I not go sit down? And then you always have that one that you got to hold while they walking down the aisle, and they
Oh,
about to pass out, and they about to yeah. And I'm just like, and I'm so desensitized. I'm like, come on, be normal. Like I know you're grieving, but again, I'm heartless because this is a job. So you can't attach your emotions to every funeral that you've done because you will be in a
mhm.
psych ward like every day. Um, so you see that one fam, no, I just that's when I start crying. And I lost my cousin a few years ago from an accident, and that one like hit me different because I mean, he was young, 20, maybe 30. He was in his 30s, but just unexpected deaths hit me totally different because when you have time to prepare, you have your time to say goodbye, and you're
Mhm.
expecting a death, but when it's sudden and you're not expecting it, and then you listen to the families tell the story of that loved one, and you just like you feel like you're getting attached. So now when I'm at the table with them and I'm embalming and I'm doing everything, they dressing them, I replay those stories and those memories that they presented at the table doing the funeral arrangements. Half the time I write the obituary too, so I already know that they have 6 kids, 5. I lost
Mhm.
another girl a few years ago. Um, from She died from after having surgery. She had a mommy makeover,
Yeah,
and she had a heart
blame you.
attack. Beautiful, beautiful young girl, in her 30s during that time, and had 2 kids and was just married. And I just was like looking at her. I'm like, sad. Got her boobs done, her tummy tuck, and she died. And I just was like, she
Looking
still had
good for the
the
underworld.
bandages on her incisions. Like, yeah,
I mean, you never know.
you
It
don't.
it could be your number at any time.
Yeah,
They call
yeah,
it punch out on you.
yeah. You don't. You don't. Going to work. You don't know if it's your last time. You don't know if you're gonna make it home. Make sure that's why you need a pre-need, and make sure your funeral is already set. So by the time you do pass, nobody's arguing at the table.
Good life insurance.
And good life insurance. Yep.
That's maybe we need to bring a life insurance person on with us one day.
I wonder if I. Oh, I don't know anybody. I only know companies.
I know a few people that do life
You
insurance.
should. You should, to explain like trust and will and all the other stuff.
Yeah, that is very important. And those are questions, ironically, that we dodge
Well, what we dodge is we don't have the money to pay for funerals.
because we don't pay for the insurance, knowing that
Correct.
you're going to die,
Yep.
because we figure that that's someone else's problem.
Yep.
GoFundMe is not a proper insurance.
It is not. And I heard they take a percentage, but I don't know. I've never done a good GoFundMe.
I guess I haven't either. I guess that's how they make their money. Now, have you
Yeah.
ever had any unusual requests for a funeral?
Oh, absolutely. I've had a lady that passed away, let's say at 1 p.m., and the family was on their way to my funeral home to have her in the ground by 6 p.m., and she
Damn.
was not Jewish. I was like, why are we burying her so fast? We need to get her in the ground. I'm like, but why? We need to get her in the ground now. It's like there's no possible way because we gotta do the funeral arrangements. We have to meet with them. We have to talk to the doctors, make sure that they're okay with signing the death certificate. We have to get with the cemetery, make sure the cemetery has crew to dig the plot. On top of that, do you even own property at the cemetery? If you don't own property, you still got to go pick up property. There's no way that we're going to be able to bury your mother in 5 hours. She's not
Damn.
even in line to get to wherever she's getting. I've had people that want to bury with coins from when they're in the military. I've had family members that their loved one was in the Air Force, and that was 60 years ago, to try to get their uniform back on them, and they're 80 years old, and there's
Ah,
no way. They wanted to bury him in his uniform, and I was like, "This man, your
buy
father was
him a new
40,
uniform.
huh?"
They could just buy him a new uniform.
They wanted that uniform on him, so I folded the uniform and put it at his feet. That's where I was going. I've had families that want to make sure his shoes were on. It is hard to put shoes on sometimes on decedents. I've had people that believe that their parents were about to die and dropped the clothes off and said, "My mom will probably die within the next 3 hours. Here's the clothes. Can you pull her pre-need arrangements?" And 2 years later, she did not die during that time, and I still had her clothes in my closet.
They're like, you. I know she's probably cussing out, you bastards. You couldn't wait for me to die. You already was planning my funeral. Cut their asses out.
Right.
I would do. You actually went to the cemetery. I ain't even cold. I'm still breathing. It got warm blood through my veins, and y'all already
Yeah.
ready. Poachers.
I've had themes where I love a person that passed loved crabs, right? Because we're in
Mhm.
Maryland right now, and we did a crab themed funeral after a repast, that you want to call it, where we had crab legs. Worst decision ever in a funeral home. It's My funeral home smelled for days of crab legs and crab juices and butter all over the carpet because we have carpet and wood floors. People making a mess, throwing crab leg. It was a mess, but we did a crab thing. We
That's
had
what.
crabs.
You explain. So what the hell they doing? Putting crabs in the casket?
No, they wanted crabs after the repast, but we did a
Oh,
crab themed. The casket was like a darker, like a pink reddish, and we had the florist made like a flower arrangement in shape of a crab. And then after, because we have choices of, you can do the repast at our funeral home. We have like a banquet room, and they had crabs and they had all types of seafood, and it was the worst decision ever because I'm like, crabs stink. Um, but I've done that. I've done beach themed. I've done Maryland. I've done a football team where I buried him in a jersey and a football in his hand with a helmet on his chest. Um, what other crazy themes have I had? I've
Well,
had a family that wanted to stay the night at the funeral home with the loved one. So we had staff rotating for 24 hours just to make sure that they're okay, to accommodate them.
extra cost for that. Like,
Oh
dang.
yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of money. But
Well, yeah, they'd have done better just taking. Can I take them home? Shit, I can say this: if you can just roll the casket and just drop it off at the house, and then y'all just come on back and pick it up at the time of the funeral. I can save money that way.
yeah. And funerals, I always say I want to bring the fun back into funerals, the FUN back into funerals. But it takes a lot of creativity and it's a lot of event planning because I call myself an event planner. Because at the end of the day, this is the last time they're going to see their loved one. I want to make sure it's the best memory that they have
Only fun that I can see in a funeral is at the repast.
when you're eating food and you're
You ready
socializing.
to toast up the liquor to the loved one when we didn't bury them, and
Now you pouring it.
now it's time to pour up some liquor and get drunk and cuss each other out.
Yeah, so that's not at my funeral home. You can do a repast at another location, but you're not drinking at my funeral home.
What typically I've seen repasses done outside of the funeral home, like you go
Mhm.
somewhere else and do
Right.
something. Yeah, yeah. I don't want to do a repass at the funeral home. I mean, no, we got to be away from the body.
But the
Can't
body's
see us have
gone.
our fun.
The body's not there anymore. Body's in
Well,
the ground.
oh well, yeah. I mean, if it's able to go in the ground,
Okay. Or the body might. I get what you're saying though.
I mean, like for instance, when my grandfather died, I never got a chance to see him go into the ground because he died actually on my birthday. So
Oh
he
no.
died on my birthday, and it was April. So we had his funeral, but for some reason it was cold in Arkansas, and it was wet, and it was rainy, and so the ground wasn't right for him to be buried that day.
Yeah.
So, and at that time I was living in Florida, so I drove to Arkansas, and they had his funeral, and they couldn't. I don't know. I think we had his funeral. I can't remember. I don't know, Friday, Saturday, or something like Sunday. It was on a Sunday, and they couldn't bury him that way, so it had to wait till later in the next week
Mhm.
to put him in the ground. So I ended up having to go back to Florida. So I mean, I mean, he had his funeral at a church, but if it had been at a funeral home, then I mean, you'd have been repassing right there with the body.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's happened a lot where we've had to hold off on burying somebody. During COVID, um, Arlington National Cemetery was backed up. So there's times where we've had to hold decedents, or I've had a family that buried or she buried her husband in a local cemetery here, and then when it was time to for his opening closing at Arlington, they disinterred him and buried him in National Cemetery or Arlington National Cemetery.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he was in the ground for a good few months. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 because once I got the call, I was like, "Dang, that was fast!" Like we could have just held him here, but we didn't have the space. COVID was ridiculous. COVID
Yeah.
was ridiculous. We were so busy during COVID,
You didn't want
and
to die.
we couldn't accommodate a lot of the requests.
I would have hated to die during COVID. If I guess it doesn't matter, but to me, living it does because no one you couldn't have a grandstand funeral during COVID. It's kind of like or wedding. It's
Yeah,
like only a few people could come in at a time, and they had to watch. It was like a rolling in, like a walk through funeral, a drive through
it
funeral. Is what
was.
I called
It
it.
was. And I
People
used to check.
walk
I
straight
used,
out.
yeah, I used to check a lot of people that were complaining about, the isolation, and I'm just like, just imagine you dropping your loved one off at the hospital. You can't see them in the hospital, and the next, you know that he or she passed away, and then they come to the funeral home, and you still can't see them at the funeral home. And so the last time you really saw your loved one was walking into the hospital. We were doing direct burials during that time. We didn't even know if COVID. We didn't even let anybody at the cemeteries because we didn't know if COVID was so. What do I want to say? We didn't know a lot about COVID, so we didn't know if after burying them if COVID was going to come out of the casket and
Mhm.
any and everything. So we were having direct burials. We had families like 50 feet watching us
Wow.
lower their loved one. And how do you know if your loved one was really, I mean, ethically, yeah, of course we did. But how do you really know if I was a family member? How do I know if that's my loved one right there? Going down in the grave because I don't see them. You can't open the casket. And then even doing removals at loved ones' house or people's houses that died. You're coming in like a hazmat, you know, head to toe, and they're like, "Oh, they died of COVID," and you're scared. And I was terrified going in. I went into a high rise in Bethesda, Maryland, and high rises are very active with people coming in and out. We pulled in the front. We were suited head to toe, gloves on, mask, and they were like, "What the heck is going on?" And we're getting a loved one, and we're getting somebody that died, and trying to discreetly get them out of the apartment complex or out of their apartment into the van, and people just like staring. I'm just like, "There's no way that we can do this discreetly and incognito. Like, there's no way." And you're scared because you double masking them. You're spraying them with some disinfectant, kind of, sort of.
Masking the bodies?
Yes, we're double masking the bodies
The bodies
because
are breathing.
yes, but your body is relaxing. So the more you move around, more we move them, they're gurgling and they're
Yeah.
releasing. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that even in COVID, the bodies got to wear a mask.
Yeah, we were putting masks on them over their mouth and their nose.
Damn.
Yeah, and when somebody passes away, they're still making like gurgling noise. Their body's coming. I say it's their soul making its way to heaven or hell, and they're before rigor mortis kicks in and things like that.
We need to explain that in the next episode, rigor mortis. I never understood that. Like, how long before you die do you rigor mortis set in?
About 45 minutes to an hour.
You just turn stiff.
Yeah, yeah. You start because your organs and everything start failing, and then it kicks in about 40 minutes. But it depends on how well you've treated your body too, and how healthy you are. That plays a bigger role in a big role in embalming. When you're not healthy, you can tell, you can smell it. But yeah, about 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Bumming those bodies that done nothing but drink Hennessy and smoke marijuana all their
It
life.
smell like it.
Like weed.
You smell like your environment. I hate to say it, but you do. And then they
Wow.
bring those clothes that they stink and they smell like smoke, and I'm just like, this is crazy. They couldn't even wash it.
Well, what is it like to cremate a person? Just think of Snoop Dogg when he died, and if he was to be cremated, you could possibly get high burning his body because his body's full of marijuana. It's like
You're
burning
crazy.
a big ass joint. I'm just saying, but you got that person that's all they do is just smoke and do
Helen,
drugs, and then you burn them up and cremate them. I mean,
and you get high.
yeah, that's a big ass joint you burning. They were a human joint living.
So they die a human joint.
They died, so you just burning them up.
Oh my god, you're crazy.
Or have you ever had a request for somebody, which I've heard of some people doing it, mixing ashes with their weed? Those that are smokers.
So they have cremains from somebody that they know, and they're gonna put their cremains in a blunt and smoke it.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that. Now my tattoo, that has some of my mom's cremains in my tattoo, right? I told you that.
yeah. You told me about that.
Yeah.
I had never heard of that. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend about that the other day, and he was like, "I didn't know you could do that either."
Yeah, I didn't know you
And
could do that.
some tattoo artists will do it, some won't. They did it for mine, and it's funny because my arm twitches a lot, and I'm like, "That's my mom dancing." I'm like, "Calm down." Um, I don't know. Once I give you the cremains of your loved one,
Hmm.
I could care less what you do with them. Like that's your property. If you want
Well,
to
yeah.
eat them, but just don't let me know that you're eating them. Like I just whatever.
Well, you're not eating them. At least I hope not.
I've had somebody eat cremains in front of me. He was a little off. Oh,
Yeah.
that's another episode. That's another topic for the next episode.
Oh yeah. We're definitely gonna have to talk about that.
Yeah.
In the next episode, we'll be a little more sympathetic, coping with the loss, the insights from a funeral director, watching people cope in the stages that they go through.
and that's hard. And you have to, again, desensitize yourself. You have to remove yourself from things like this because you will forever be depressed. Forever be depressed.
You never had a request to bury a body well, not bury, but to have a funeral like some people like Louisiana is not uncommon to bury somebody on a motorcycle, in a car, in a club, standing up on the dance floor.
I've had the request, but I don't do it. I don't do it. The like we said, I guess a few episodes ago, the younger generations are into that. I'm just not into embalming because once you embalm somebody on a motorcycle, sitting down, playing cards, you have to do something with that body. So you're either going to break, I hate to say it, the rigor mortis or the way you embalm them to put them flat in the casket, or you have to cremate them like that. So, and that's my understanding, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
how you're gonna have to do it. But I'm not a limelight funeral director. Somebody even approached me having a reality show, and I was like, no, I'm not interested.
You should.
No, I'm not interested. It's gonna be scripted, and I don't want anybody following my life. I don't know. It's just not. It's sound. The younger me would definitely do it, but now I just feel like I would be. It would be scripted. It has to be scripted, and you have to have family sign waivers, and I just with AI and face
There are a lot of
identity.
families that don't have money to bury their loved ones. They would be glad for a free funeral to sign those waivers.
Yeah, but then I'm gonna have to say you can't be normal. We gotta put a spin on this.
Hell, give them some Hennessy. They're gonna give you a show.
You're funny.
That might
You
be a
should.
that
You
may
should
be
come
a
to the
good
funeral home.
reality show. Huh?
You should come to the funeral home one day.
No.
It's just a building.
With bodies.
They're
Just
dead.
like I don't go to the hospital unless I have to.
I mean, who goes to a hospital when they don't have to?
Just like who goes to a funeral home if ain't nobody they know dead and don't have to.
But what if you know somebody that works at a funeral home? What if they're hungry and they want
After the
lunch?
funeral home.
Yeah. What
You
if you had a
send them
friend that works at a
you
funeral home?
send them- and if they want lunch, you send them DoorDash or Uber Eats.
It's just a building that does
You bring them a
magical
box.
things.
What is it? You send them a box of Count Dracula
Oh my gosh.
or Boo Berries.
Are you talking about cereal?
Frankenberry. Yeah.
Why are you like this? You should. I think it would be fun. We need some again, we need to bring more fun back into funeral. I think you have the personality. I think you should really come and visit.
So stiff, dry comedy.
Yeah. We can put a casket down and we can have like the podcast centered around the casket. We can do a live taping.
Yeah, I can see that now. People come in. That episode was really dead.
It's really dead. Or it can be really lively.
Not say it's the ones laying there.
But we can. There's not gonna be anybody laying there. It's just gonna be an empty casket. It's gonna be you and I and whoever else wants to join.
Have you ever done a Masonic funeral?
I have not actually. Have you gone to one?
I participated in one, yes.
So what's the tradition? What makes it what makes it different?
Typically in a Masonic funeral, the Masons is the last one to speak over the body.
Y'all do anything different other than
I mean, we go there. There's like a ceremony in a Masonic ritual that goes on at Masonic funerals, and typically there are a lot of brothers. Usually, the front row is going to be filled with brothers, and you know, basically, you got good pallbearers, and as they escort the body out, and it's been done twice. I've only done it in a funeral, but I've seen it some places where if the family was religious, there are different religious beliefs, and some people think that Masons are of the devil, whatever, not allowed in the church. So in some cases, the last rites have been administered at the cemetery
Hmm.
where they stand there. I've seen it. I have seen. I've seen it done where it's lined up in the regular funeral
Hmm.
goes on, and then at the cemetery, the Masons are assembled, and they do the last rites as the body is being lowered into the
Hmm.
ground. Uh, so yeah, but those can be long. I mean, it depends on if he's a Shriner. That's a whole nother ceremony. I mean, those were can go long. I
They're the
mean,
ones that wear the hat, right?
yes.
And it
So
looks like things
yeah,
that come down. Okay, I have done one.
so yeah, so if he's a Shriner, usually that's done on a different day. They'll break it up depending on how many groups and organizations that this person belonged to.
Hmm.
They may come do the shrine ceremony. I participated in some of those and read in there where, uh, yeah, usually that may be done at like the uh, wake or something like that, where the
Hmm.
shrine may come in and do their ceremony. If they in another house, that may be done, at another time and place, or they may run them all. They may run them together, but the Masonic one will always be the last one that be done.
Interesting.
Has
I
it
think I've
has
attended
to
one.
be the last one?
Okay. So were you a pallbearer?
Yeah, I mean, as I didn't actually carry the body, but yeah, as and usually in Masonic funeral, like I said, usually you got a lot of brothers there, and they're gonna as the body comes out, they're gonna escort the body because
Okay.
actually there's usually a Tyler there with a sword that sits with the body,
Oh.
stands with the body with the sword.
The whole
Oh,
entire time of the visitation?
yeah, usually doing when the service starts, there's usually like a Tyler or something that will sit there with a sword to protect the body.
And if somebody comes up, is he gonna fight the person?
You won't come up there. Use like I said, using Mason spinners I've done. There's like a lot of brothers that are there in the row, and like a whole ceremony that will go on.
Interesting. Yeah, so there's so many traditions and
Mhm.
rituals, like Hindu, Buddhist, like
Oh
so
yeah,
many. Catholic are a little different, Baptist. I just adapt to what I'm learning. There's so many requests.
definitely.
As long as it's legal, we'll do it.
I want to thank you. Our time is running out, so we'll catch you in the next episode of Coping with
That sounds like when somebody died and they're happy that they died.
Our loss. Hopefully not.
Dang, they're cheering.
For all our listeners, if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can catch us on the next episode. Until next time, we'll see you wherever you're watching this podcast, whether it's on Spotify or YouTube. Thank you and enjoy your life. I won't say have a good day. I'll say enjoy your life since we're talking about death. Have a great life.
Have a great life.